Ever since the season finale dropped and we saw Millie's pregnancy reveal, there's been this burning question in everyone's mind. Is this really the best direction for her character? And honestly, it's a super valid concern, because why would the writers take one of the most interesting characters in Helluva Boss and potentially reduce her to just another pregnancy storyline? It kind of feels like they might be throwing away all that amazing potential she had from the beginning. But let's just unpack what's actually happening with Millie's character trajectory, and honestly, the wait for meaningful development has been quite the journey. After almost 2 full seasons of waiting for any meaningful character development for her, we finally got something in the season 2 finale. But was it worth the wait? Unfortunately, I don't think so. Just think about Millie in season 1. She definitely had potential, right? We could see glimpses of her skills in battle scenes, hinting that she might have her own personality beyond just being Moxie's wife. She had this fascinating duality where she could be absolutely ruthless in a fight and be incredibly sweet and supportive with Moxie. And that contrast is what made her so interesting to watch, and it maybe even suggested that there was more beneath the surface. But then season 2 happened and we didn't really get to see that potential develop. She was mostly in the background, without much meaningful screen time or character moments. In the Ghost Fuckers episode, we did get a brief glimpse into her backstory and how she came to work at IMP, but it was really minimal compared to the development other characters received. For example, Fizz and Moxie. They both got episodes exploring their younger years in more depth, while Millie's backstory was squeezed into a single scene in an episode that wasn't even really about her. We didn't actually get to see what led her to feel and act the way she did, or why she believed she couldn't be anything as an imp. Imagine if Fizz's backstory had been reduced to a single line like, "You almost set me on fire and that sucked." Because that's basically what they did with Millie. It's kind of like they can't write her as a complex person the way they do with the other characters. So she still went from being a character with promising dimensions to just kinda existing in the background of other people's stories. And unfortunately, this seems to be a pattern with most of the female characters in the show. Stella, Octavia, and even Luna all tend to get less focus compared to characters like Stolas and Blitz. And then in the finale, instead of giving Millie something meaningful to do or some actual character development, they just drop this pregnancy bomb on us. I'm gonna be honest, when she snapped at Moxie, I kinda thought like, wow, they're finally showing that Millie isn't perfect and that there are some cracks in their relationship that maybe could give her some actual depth. But nope, it was just played off as her being a hormonal pregnant woman, which is such a tired and frankly offensive trope. And what's even more strange is how they handled Millie's reaction to finding out she was pregnant. She keeps it a secret for why exactly? I know the season had to end on a cliffhanger, and that's fine, but showing Millie this concerned, they only made the fandom question things like maybe the kid isn't even Moxie's. Like, this is weird. What I'm guessing is that Millie just didn't have time to fully process what having a baby would really mean for them. I don't think that she's afraid of Moxie's reaction, cause Millie knows Moxie better than anyone, so she definitely knows that he'd be thrilled about having a baby. There's absolutely no reason for her to be that worried about his reaction. Although it would actually be interesting to see how the news would affect their relationship, but instead what I'm guessing will be the biggest problem here is money, which was implied multiple times that Millie and Moxie are basically broke, or the other possibility is that motherhood would change Millie's life as an assassin completely. And I mean, these are valid concerns, and these could even add some depth to her character, but based on the rather bad writing of season 2, what I'm actually guessing is that they will get over these concerns pretty quickly, and instead of developing Millie's character, they could go with one of these more predictable routes. As Millie gets more pregnant, she gets sidelined from missions, which makes her frustrated. Then Moxie becomes super overprotective, which leads to fights between them. And I know it sounds familiar because we've seen this kind of pregnancy storyline in tons of shows before, where they take a cool female character and suddenly she's just the mom. And if Helluva Boss does this too, it would be pretty disappointing. But then there's Blitz. How's he gonna handle one of his employees being pregnant? Honestly, probably not great. I mean, this is the guy who sends his team into life-threatening jobs with zero concern for their well-being. And to be fair, half the time he's the one putting them in danger for fun. So the idea of him suddenly being a responsible, understanding boss about Millie's pregnancy, yeah, that's kinda hard to picture. But at the same time, he could also go way too far far in the other direction. Like getting weirdly over-involved, giving Millie the worst parenting advice imaginable, or stressing about baby-proofing the office like that's even possible. And let's be real, he'd definitely make this about himself. He'd probably convince himself that this baby is basically his unofficial niece or nephew. So no, I don't think he'd be outright dismissive, but he would definitely turn it into a total mess, because that's just what he does. And if the writers really want this pregnancy to push Millie's character forward, maybe having her finally stand up to Blitz's nonsense at work could actually be something worth exploring. But the Crimson angle could also add another layer of potential drama. Given that he's a psycho who hates his son, it's easy to imagine him trying to use the baby situation to mess with Moxie. Maybe he'll pretend to care about being a grandfather to manipulate Moxie, or maybe he'll go full villain and try to kidnap Millie or threaten the baby or something. And yeah, this would create some exciting conflict, but it might also turn Millie into just a plot device in the Moxie Crimson story instead of focusing on her own development. And let's not forget Stolas. Somehow the show always finds a way to bring storylines back to him. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets involved with the pregnancy storyline somehow. Maybe he'll be surprisingly good with pregnancy advice or babysitting once the kid arrives. And I mean, this could create a moment for Octavia to see her dad being nurturing, which could help them fix their relationship. Or maybe she'll get jealous that Stolas is caring for a baby but not her. Whatever it is, again, these would not contribute to Millie's development at all. So what would actually be cool and unexpected is if they took a completely different approach. What if Millie isn't immediately happy about being pregnant, and not because she doesn't love Moxie or because she's a bad person, but because she values her independence, her job, and the life she's built? Usually TV shows don't really let women have these kinds of feelings without making them look like villains. So if Helluva Boss handled this thoughtfully, it could lead to some really meaningful conversations between Millie and Moxie about what they both want for their future, creating genuine character development that makes sense for their relationship. But I'm probably being a bit too optimistic here. Honestly, the whole pregnancy reveal just feels so random and disconnected from anything we know about Millie. It doesn't tie into any existing character arc. I mean, mostly because she barely has one to begin with. But instead, what it looks like is that the writers might realize that they hadn't given Millie anything substantial to do for 2 seasons, and just went with adding the pregnancy storyline as a quick fix. But pregnancy isn't character development, it's just a plot point that could either enhance or further diminish an already underdeveloped character. So yeah, the pregnancy cliffhanger leaves us with way more questions than answers, which, after all, is exactly what a season finale should do. And the real question isn't whether Millie should be pregnant, but whether her pregnancy will be used to make her character deeper or flatter. Will the writers finally give Millie the attention and development she deserves, or will she keep being defined mainly by her relationship to other characters? What do you guys think about Millie's pregnancy? Will it really ruin her character even more? Or maybe there is some hope for her? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.